Hi everyone, Marie here. In today's video, I'd like to stitch the first part of our new British Isles stitch along with you and tell you a bit about the landmarks we are stitching today as well. I'll add a couple of tips for starting a project too. I hope you'll enjoy it. First, let's take a look at what's in the package. I am so pleased to say that the kit has arrived completely plastic free, apart from the outer mailing bag, which really does need to be plastic to protect the fabric and floss inside. This gorgeous recyclable cardboard sleeve contains pale blue even weave. I've chosen to stitch on 28 count even weave this time. I also have all the threads that are pre-sorted. I will be moving them onto floss drops shortly, just because that is my own personal preference. I've got a needle and detailed instructions that are very beginner friendly. I also got this needle minder that I am absolutely obsessed with. It's the double-decker London bus number 23. It runs through absolutely iconic London landmarks like Kensington Palace, Royal Albert Hall, Harrods, Marble Arch, Paddington Station and Notting Hill. Easily my favorite needle minder in my collection already. Before I start stitching, I will fold the fabric in half and then again to find the center where our stitch-alongs always start. I try to avoid marking the fabric actually, so I just use the provided needle and pop it through the center and leave it there so I don't lose the spot. I will only remove it just before I start stitching. I have also put a paper clip on the top of the fabric so that I don't forget myself and don't start stitching in wrong fabric orientation. It is a terrible shame to find that you've gone horizontal instead of portrait halfway down the project, so this is a really handy trick to mark the top when you're preparing the fabric. Then you just need to make sure that the fabric with paper clip always points way up. I am using my beloved wooden hoop that keeps my fabric nice and taut thanks to a twill tape trick. If you want to know more, please check out our last week's videos. I've linked in the top right corner here. I am also removing all the threads and putting it on my floss drops. This is purely a personal preference. It's just how I prefer to have my threads pre-cut and stored. So this is by no means a requirement on your end. But if you did want to do the same, you can check out our DIY floss drops video where I show you exactly how I make these, again linked in the upper right corner. I am using a quilting ruler to measure even strands of floss, and I cut them on one end only and then loop through the floss drop. I always write the symbol on my floss drops so I don't have to constantly check the floss key on the chart. I only have to find the called for symbol on my floss drops and I'm good to go. It's time to start stitching, so I removed the needle marking center and here we go. I have threaded a different needle just because my preferred needle size is size 26, but the correct provided size is 24, which is a bit larger. Again, this is just my personal preference, but I find that even weave gets a little bit crammed because of the higher fabric count, so I prefer that just a bit smaller needle. We're starting in the middle, which means we're somewhere around the north of England and South Scotland on the map. The first object I am stitching is a kilt, iconic Scottish garment. It originated in Scottish Highlands in 16th century and remains an integral part of Scottish culture and proud traditions to this day. Second object on the map is the Blackpool Tower. It's a tourist attraction in Blackpool in Lancashire in England, and it was opened to the public on 14th of May 1894. When it opened, Blackpool Tower was the tallest man-made structure in the British Empire. It is 158 meters tall and has 563 steps to get to the top. Phew! Moving on to stitching one of the most iconic British dishes, a fish and chips. A traditional Friday takeaway, or any other day to be fair, it is an unmissable part of British culture. What would be a high street without a great fish and chips shop? It used to be served in a wrapping of old newspapers. With plenty of packaging around these days, this is no longer the case, but many fish and chip shops will have food-safe packaging printed to look like a newspaper to build upon this tradition. Next, we're stitching on Clifford's Tower, which is all that is left of what once was York Castle. It served as a keep of the medieval Norman castle and was originally built on the order of William the Conqueror, who conquered and ruled England in the 11th century. In the almost 1,000 years of its existence, it served many purposes, including mint and a prison. I am stitching on the Angel of the North next. This iconic British landmark is located in Gateshead in England. It was completed in 1998 and it is believed to be the largest sculpture of an angel in the world. It stands 20 meters or 66 feet tall with a wingspan of 54 meters or 177 feet, which is larger than a Boeing 757 craft. The vertical ribs on the body and wings of the angel act as an external skeleton which direct oncoming wind to the sculpture's foundations, allowing it to withstand wind speeds of over 100 miles per hour. I didn't quite manage to finish the rest of the first release because this is my actual stitching speed. And I am here to tell you that stitch along is not a race. You don't have to finish first, and you don't even have to finish on time. I still have unfinished stitch-alongs from 2021 in my whip pile, so please don't stress about finishing in a set time frame. Let me just mention the two remaining objects I will stitch later. First, the breathtaking Edinburgh Castle, which stands on Castle Rock. I wonder if Game of Thrones Castle Rock inspiration comes from here. Castle Rock has been occupied by humans since at least the Iron Age. There has been a royal castle on the rock since at least the reign of David I in the 12th century, and the site continued to be a royal residence until 1633. Its importance as a part of Scotland's national heritage was recognised increasingly from the early 19th century onwards, and various restoration programmes have been carried out over the past century and a half. The last object to stitch is a lobster, which represents the richness of British and particularly Scottish seas. If you'd like to know more interesting facts, please head over to our Instagram, where Sally shared a Did You Know post with some interesting snippets about these British symbols. If you'd like to join me and thousands of other stitchers, it's never too late. Please head over to our website caterpillarcrossstitch.com to get your PDF copy or a full kit and join us on the adventurous journey of discovering the beautiful British Isles. Thank you so much for watching and stitching with me today. I hope you enjoyed it and see you next week.